It's Chris, and today I just want to talk to you about one really important topic that we're all dealing with right now, and that is peace of mind. I just listened to Deepak Chopra, and he's talking about on the Fox News media about the benefits of meditation. And I would love to say, well, congratulations, Deepak. To a man with a hammer, a broken door needs a hammering. A man with a screwdriver or a woman with a screwdriver, a broken door needs screwing. No, maybe I got that wrong. But anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Peace of mind is something that I specialize in. And unlike a lot of people who travel the world speaking on stage to large groups of audiences, I've been fortunate enough all my life to work with people on peace of mind in a very private environment. What I've learned is that what is in theory peace of mind, or what you can practice in an ashram or in a temple or in a place of isolation, isn't necessarily what works in reality. In other words, in my heyday, I've been on meditation retreats, such as the one I went into for quite an extended number of weeks up in the Blue Mountains. And I came out of that, and I can honestly say I had peace of mind. I was in seventh heaven. And while I was in that meditation retreat, I was dealing, or before I went into the meditation retreat, I was dealing with the absence of my children from my life through a divorce. I was dealing with some financial struggles because I'd sold the business for a song. I was dealing with a university degree, an MBA, that I was really wrestling with. I was dealing with emotional breakdowns. I was dealing with massive numbers of things in my personal life, but that all went away during my meditation retreat. And I loved the fact that I could have peace of mind in a meditation retreat because I was at arm's length from the things that I was battling with that created my life. I didn't have to run my company. I didn't have to sit for exams. I didn't have to deal with my ex-wife. I didn't have to deal with my emotions around my children. I didn't have to do any jogging or running. I didn't have to worry about food. I didn't have to worry about paying bills. I was in meditation. And in this oasis, this nirvana environment, I found peace of mind. So I came out of that meditation retreat and jumped in my Porsche 911 SC Targa, drove down the road from the meditation retreat in my Porsche 911 SC Targa at about 25 kilometers per hour on the freeway from the Blue Mountains to Sydney, which caused mayhem. I stopped at a petrol station to fuel my car, and I walked to the counter to pay my bills and was elbowed by somebody who was standing in a queue waiting to get to the counter. And I was living in like a bubble. And I was living in an 11th heaven, not a 7th one, an 11th heaven. And as I drove along the road and the cars bipped me and the people shouted at me and the queues bumped me, bit by bit I remerged back into the world of reality. And I started to remember that I had financial struggles and I had emotional problems, and I started to miss my kids again, and I started to get angry about my divorce, and I started to worry about exams, and I started to think about selling the business for a song, and everything started to roll back into my life like a rolling cloud, like a bushfire, if you want to call it that, coming through the forest closer and closer to me. And it was really disappointing because I'd invested weeks and weeks and weeks in achieving this state that I just didn't want to let go of. And this happened to me, I suppose, 6 or 7 times through attending retreats with yoga practitioners and gurus and all sorts of things all over the world, studying in meditation. And I just wanted to say to you right now that I don't believe meditation or retreats are the resource for peace of mind. I think they're the resource for experiencing peace of mind. I think they're the resource for witnessing what it's like to have peace of mind, but they aren't the resource for it. The resource for peace of mind is a total package. And anybody who says one thing, meditation or exercise or diet or whatever it is, will help you achieve peace of mind is lying. It's a total package. And I think what I'd like to do quickly now is go through the total package. First, in everyday life, we hold on to shit. We hold on to stuff that is worrying us. During this weekend, we had to negotiate our rent review. Given the COVID situation, we decided that my partner wasn't working and that we should have a negotiation about our rent review. And we put a fairly strong case to the landlord, who came back and basically said, "You're out." And we didn't realise New South Wales hadn't been immunised against this eviction process. And you know, I have no problem paying the rent, but I didn't want also to be threatened with eviction. And it caused me turbulence. And that turbulence could have lasted for 5 minutes. It could have lasted for one, but I let it last for a few hours. I just needed to seek resolution for something that had happened. So I can recognize for those 2 hours, I did not have peace of mind. The definition of a great leader in the world is the person who can implement plan B fastest. That's the definition of great leadership. And I think peace of mind comes when we reconcile what's something that's gone on in the past and come to peace with it, which means we've got a plan B, which means we've seen the balance in it. Whatever it is that's happened, we come to peace with it in this moment now. So I would say, before you go into any meditation retreat and try and achieve a state of peace of mind, which is false and separate to life, I would say the first thing to do is deal with life. Deal with the challenges, the issues, the things that are still hanging on from the past. And let me give you a few of those that were there for me when I came out of that meditation retreat and realized I was hanging on to shit. Firstly, I was angry at my ex-wife. Secondly, I was hurt by the fact that I couldn't see my children. Thirdly, I was still disillusioned and disappointed about how much I'd sold my business for and how much money I'd lost by acting fairly abruptly and just acknowledging the call of my heart. 4, I was still, after this meditation retreat, needing to attend exams that were coming up for my MBA. And so it would have been far smarter for me to reconcile these emotional and mental challenges before I went and pretended to compartmentalize myself in a place where the issues didn't go away. They just were not in the present of my presence. So, number 1, learn how and follow the rules, and there's plenty, of how to deal with anxiety, how to deal with stresses. And those include financial, spiritual, emotional, relationship, family, health, mental, and career. Deal with the 5 areas of life. Know how to let go of the things that you're worried about by either resolving them or realizing that you can't do much about them. That's number 1 for peace of mind. But that's only one step. And anybody who says one thing will give you peace of mind is lying. The second step. Over the course of 30 or 35 years of studying the spiritual arts, I've done a lot of health things that were called healthy that weren't. I did, for 2 weeks, I did a watermelon fast. We sprinkle chili powder on watermelon and eat watermelon, and that was the only food that I ate for 2 weeks. And I can honestly say, at the end of it, I shit through the eye of a needle, that I was really cleaned up inside, and I was really flexible in my body. But if you asked me to climb a ladder and nail in a wall so I could hang a painting, or if you asked me to walk carefully across the back garden to plant a flower and not tread everywhere that I didn't need to, I couldn't. If you asked me to drive fast, if you asked me to react in an emergency, I couldn't. If you asked me to help you out, I couldn't lift anything. If you asked me to have resilience in my own emotional agenda, I couldn't, because I was, not only was I activated at a yogic level, and that made my body really soft and flexible. But the downside of it, which was unspoken of in the retreat that I attended, was that I'd become an emotional fruitcake, that I would be mentally unable to find balance easily, I would be ungrounded, and I would lose a sense of purpose and future. So this great health process turned me into a fruitcake. Even though I ate watermelon, I ended up as a fruitcake, and that's not a very nice combination, is it? Watermelon and fruitcake. So I can honestly say that we need to, as a second step for peace of mind, find a health program that makes us healthy. And I would say mental health and emotional and emotional health and physical health are so connected that any person who's not doing a strong physical program to their life that's giving them routine and giving them discipline around diet and around rest and around exercise programs and around standing up at their desk and around all the things that, and around breathing and what have you. Any person's not doing things like that and expecting to have peace of mind is absolutely deluding themselves. But two things don't make truth when it comes to peace of mind. Anybody who says just two things you do in your life, like getting rid of the past or fixing up your health, will give you peace of mind, is lying. The third thing, and that's going to be the last for this video, part one. The third thing is your space. So I attended yoga retreats in India, and I hung out with people in a rather ugly space, doing amazing yoga, who ended up going home to rather impoverished rented domiciles and having a lot of sex. I hung out with people in those places where I thought, man, it's really interesting to see such an amazing teaching being implemented in such challenging domestic circumstances. And then I went to Canada, and I worked with Indigenous kids who were the most saintly, beautiful, inspired, energetic and enthusiastic people in a workshop with me, or in a walk in a bush, or sitting around a fire, or doing traditional ceremonies, but who also had mates who had drugs, and who had families who abused them, and had violence, and had low self-esteem surrounding them. And so it came to my awareness that environment starts to play a big role. I did meditation retreats in a Zen environment, which is pristine and perfectly and natural, but as I've said before, when I left, the real world was an attack on the peace that I had found. When I went to the Himalayas for the first time, I was shocked, because I met monks who live in monasteries. That's been their life since they were 3 years old. And these monks were jokers. So we'd be sitting in meditation, or they'd be sitting in meditation, and I would be sitting on the periphery meditating or trying to copy them, because there were no instructions. It's just sit down, shut up and drink tea. And little kids would run around, little young monks, 6 or 7 years old, with biros. And they'd take the pen out of the biro and be left with a plastic sleeve just big enough to fire a grain of rice down. And what they would do is walk around with a grain of rice in the biro, and any monk who started to close their eyes and drift off into Nana land, which is nirvana or enlightenment or whatever you want to call it, they would shoot the grain of rice into the side of their head. And of course the monk would move or jump or agitate or whatever it was. And then I saw that there was a lot of humor in the meditation process. And then what would happen is another monk would drift off, and someone would steal their teacup. One of the other monks would move their teacup out of their way, so when they woke up, there's no teacup in front, and they realized that everyone had been laughing. And so the whole process of meditation became more real, more athletic, more engaged, and brighter and lighter, and actually more inspiring. And so I started to realize that the environment that we live in, it's written, and psychology has proven, that the 5 people we spend most time with impact our life more than everything we've ever learnt. So we are a product of our environment. We're a product of the people we are attached to, and we're a product of the things that surround us. And I think that's really an important element. I live in Bondi. The reason I pay a massive rent and live near the beach is because I can go to the beach anytime I want, any time of day. I work from home, so anytime I want, any time of day, and go for a swim, go for a walk along the beach in what I think is paradise. Of course, right now with COVID-19, we're being banned from our beach, which is a real shitty thing, but that happens. And so living so close to the beach and paying such a huge rent isn't quite such a delight right now. So the third element, and one thing doesn't give us peace of mind, anybody who says so is lying, but your environment, not only your physical environment, but your emotional environment, the people you hang out with, the way you decorate your house, the amount of nature you have in your life, the amount of connectivity you have to the real world of nature, to the noises, to the sound, to the smell, to the sense. So let's call the environment that you hang out in your sensory perceptions. And let's say that the senses are a really important part. Having a good sense, a good attraction in your senses, being able to see beauty, smell nice things, taste good things, feel good things, hear good things. These 5 senses are really important to engage in peace of mind. And that's why sometimes television might not be the greatest source of peace of mind, especially before you go to bed and your physical body falls asleep and your spiritual one wakes up. So there's 3, but 3 things, anybody who says 3 things are going to give you peace of mind is lying. There are 4 more. I'll share those in the next video. Have a great day. Bye for now.